Daf, I think we started the Mishnah, but let's start over again. We started the Mishnah, base. Let's start again from Yudal and off the bottom. First he would give her to drink, and then he would sacrifice the mincha. Rabbi Shimon on there, first he would give her the mincha, first he would sacrifice the mincha, then he would give her to drink. So after Shneimar, he brings up Pasuk, the Gemara is going to Pasuk goes for Rabbanan, so then afterwards he should give the woman the waters. If he gave the drink and then sacrificed the mincha, like Rabbanan said, shiur. So actually, as we said last week, it's an interesting thing that Rabbanan holds. That Rabbanan hold that you give them give her the waters to drink and then you sacrifice the mincha, which means she's still alive. The waters don't start poisoning her right away. You have because the mincha is what really kicks the process in. According to Rabbi Shimon, first you sacrifice the mincha, then you give her the waters to drink, and then immediately she starts convulsing and dying if she's guilty. Okay, the Gemara is going to discuss it in some length. My time, what's the logic of Rabbanan, who say that first you give it to drink, and then afterwards you bring her mincha, because there's uva. The water should already be within her when you bring the mincha. My time, Rabbi Shimon, what's the logic of Rabbi Shimon? It says It says afterwards, meaning after the mincha, you give the woman the waters to drink. Rabbi Shimon, time of the Rabbanan. What does Rabbi Shimon do with the pasuk which the rabbis used? Uba. So from this they learn. Rabbi Shimon learns kulhon. You have to give her all the waters to drink. Below miktasan, not just part of the water. You got to drink up the whole elixir. My Makai Rabbanan time, Rabbi Shimon. What do Rabbanan do with the pasuk of Rabbi Shimon? This al korcha means if we already erased the Megillah and put the words in the water, and she says she doesn't want to drink, tough luck. For yashke, we make her drink. Al korcha against the even though it's not for her own benefit. And that's going to be the next mission. Actually, we haven't yet seen it inside. That if he gave her to drink and then after sacrificed the mincha, that is kosher. Right? If you first gave her to drink and then you gave her the mincha, that's Rabbanan say to do. He says, but the Evid, it's okay. That if you sacrifice the mincha and afterwards you give it to drink, which is what Rabbi Shimon says to do, so ultimately, in the bottom of that final analysis, doesn't matter which way you do it, right? What's the difference between you do that mitzvah? What's the chatchila? What's the mitzvah to do? Rabbanan says the mincha he shibot kasa. The mincha is what checks her. So therefore, first you give it to drink, and then you sacrifice the mincha, and the mincha checks her. Shimon Amram Ma'imei Bakimosa. The water checks, and therefore first you do sacrifice the mincha, and then you give her the waters to drink. My time, the Rabbanan. What's the logic of the Rabbanan? Minchas zikaron mazkeres avon. It's the mincha of commemoration, which also recalls the sin. So the mincha is what recalls the sin, and bang, bang, she's dead. My time, Rabbi Shimon, what's the logic of Rabbi Shimon? Ubo ba. The waters come in her, and the waters, of course, see the effect. Are you by half brother on which side? Oh, a half brother on the father's side, not a half brother on the mother's side. Okay. It was nice. Mama Kaimer Rabbanan, time of Shimon Uboba. What did Rabbanan do with the time reason of Shimon Uboba, which sounds like the waters come into her? Actually, it's important. I missed the Mishnah Carbonata. It says Uboba Hamayim Orim Memorim. So it says. So it sounds like it's the waters which come in her and start, killing her. So Ma'amakai Rabbanan time Rabbi Shimon. What do Rabbanan do with Rabbi Shimon's pasuk? They use it to darshan. It spreads, it suffuses all her limbs. Ma'amakai Rabbi Shimon time Rabbanan. What does he do with that which the rabbis say? Mincha zikaron maskeres avon. It says that to the mincha it commemorates the sin. So Rabbi Shimon, who holds that the waters actually checks her, that says a very interesting thing about that. He says, means that every error she ever did comes back to haunt her at that time. Now, of course, she doesn't get killed because of those errors, but later on we're going to see tonight that if she has a schus, so she gets to linger a little bit. If she doesn't have a schus, she drops dead of convulsions on the spot. So all the Averos she ever did come to check up on her at this point to see if she'll get to linger or she'll die, right now.
I think the Bible said that he should be linger for months.
It's a Mishnah, years. Linger for years. So that depends on the other Averos she committed. Okay? Rabbanan Amri, Kaisev Umochek, the Gemara repeats itself quite a bit here. Rabbanan Amri, Kaisev Umochek, you write, you erase, Umashkeh, you give it to drink, Umakriv, then you sacrifice the mincha. Shiur Kosev, you write, Umakriv, and then you sacrifice Umochek, and you erase Umashkeh, and you give it to drink. Kol Amamoide, but everybody can see Shemechikas Mucha Lashkoya. You erase the Megillah into the waters immediately adjacent to drinking. El the Rabbanan Amri, it's just the rabbis say again, Kosev Umochek, you write and you erase Umashkeh, and you give it to drink Umakriv, and you sacrifice. Shiur Kosev Umakriv, you write and you sacrifice Umochek, and then you erase Umashkeh and give the drink. Tane, we learned Loilami Yochelu Lach Zorba. She can renege until the mincha is brought. Karban mincha parmein yishoy. So the mincha was sacrificed, and she said, "I'm not drinking." Ma'arin oisa, we compel her. Umashkin oisa literally means we open up her mouth. Umashkin about korban, pour the water down her hatch against the will. Kir Rabbi Shimon, and this price obviously is going like Rabbi Shimon because it says that we sacrifice the mincha, and now we're first giving her the waters to drink. Baram kabbanan kfar shasas, because Rabbanan, of course, she already drank before he brought the mincha. On that sin, ein misapekes lishtos. We learned that she doesn't finish drinking until she drops dead. Right? These tiny, those says, she doesn't move from there until she drops dead. He who learned that she doesn't finish drinking until she drops dead, that's Rabbi Shimon who holds the waters checker. So therefore, immediately while she's drinking the water, she can start having her convulsions. He who says that she wouldn't move from there before the convulsions will start, that's like Rabbanan, because Rabbanan are the ones who say that it's possible that it's possible that the waters themselves do not start checking her. When does she start getting checked? After the mincha sacrifice. So it's not when the waters start coming down, but before she leaves the Hazorah, she already starts having convulsions and dying.
Shimon had an honest fear that this korban could have been an improper korban because she really didn't drink it. That's why the Gemara is talking about forcing it down her throat. Because according to Rabbanan, they don't have such a fear.
What's the fear?
That the korban is not really the korban of a sotah. That's the fear.
What makes the korban sotah? Why, if you give it before the waters are...
If you're forcing her to drink, if she already drank the water, like according to Rabbanan, then the korban she brings afterwards is the korban of a sotah. She drank the me'amara.
Right, which is good.
But according to Reb Shimon,
she's not yet a sotah.
She's not yet a sotah made of the king of the steer, but he didn't have the drinking of the me'amara. And therefore, he's concerned about this korban of the sotah not being a korban sotah. It's just a korban. It's not followed by the me'amara. And therefore, he's concerned about shoving it down her throat. It's just an observation.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's true. No, I don't know if it's true that once we sacrifice the korban, we ram it down. Is that what it says?
Well, it doesn't say.
Korban with the measure. You're right. Right. He's concerned. That's a good deal. It is a good deal that he says that once the korban is sacrificed, you have to shove it down the throat because otherwise, retroactively, it's like chulim bazara, the korban. That's interesting. In other words, according to Rabbanan, no such chashah, no chashah calling bazar because you already sacrificed the korban. But according to him, you have to make a drink because the problem calling bazar. That's not bad. Okay,
I thought
I give you credit for that one.
I was thinking the other way, that they have to, according to Rav Shimon, you have to make a drink because you already erased Hashem's name.
Yeah, but you say that's true, and that's in the next Mishnah. But here it's adding, so it says it's adding a nuance in this brisa that says korban min chasa. Even though you haven't erased Hashem's name, even though you only mark the mincha, according to Rav Shimon, you have to force it to drink. According to Rabbanan, you already forced it to drink earlier than that, right? But according to Rabbi Shimon, emphasizing that even if the mincha was already sacrificed before the drink, even if the Megillah was not yet erased, because so we have two concerns: A, that once everybody is concerned once it's erased, that it shouldn't be erasing the Vatola. Besides, Rabbi Shimon is another concern that which is pointing out that okay, it says more further, Mishnah further. Actually, before the Megillah is erased, Armani Shaisa doesn't want to drink. Megillah and Ignesis, he put the Megillah in Geniza, and Minchasam is Pazeres al Desher, and her Mincha scattered on the pile of ashes, which is on which is somewhere in the Azora on the floor. Because it is kadosh, she can't just take it and eat it for lunch. So it is kadosh, right? And you can't use the Megillah for another sotah. Megillah was erased for and she said, "Tamei ani am tamei, hamayim nishbachim, the waters are spilled. V'minchasam is paseres al deshen, and her mincha is scattered on the deshen." Now that's what she said, "Tamei ani." But Nimchlok Megillah, the Megillah was erased for Amra Eni Shoisa, and she said, "I'm not drinking." Marin Osa, then we force her, Umashkin Osa Ba'al Korcha, and we make her drink against her will. Okay? Says more further. Tani.
What point did she say to me?
No, she didn't in this case.
In the second to last case, she said to me, "I need," and that's why she conceded, so we're not going to make her die. But she just says, "Eni Shoisa," right? She says any shoysa, we say, well, if you're not going to concede explicitly, so tough luck, we're going to make a drink. Okay, you see that? Before the Megillah is erased, even if she says any shoysa, that suffices. After the Megillah is erased, it's not enough for her to say any shoysa, she has to say Tameani, otherwise we make her drink. Okay? Says Martani, we learned Megillah and Ignezes. Where is Megillah put in Gniza? Tachas Tiur Shel Heichel, underneath the I don't think this is actually in the Bavli. I'm pretty sure it's not. Under the hinge of the Heichal. Lama. So it says more. Why do you put it there? Bishvil shachka, in order to get it. Put it under a hinge. What happens if you put something under a hinge? It erases it, right? Gets going to get rubbed out, right? So that's detrimental because that's Hashem, right? So why would you put it there to get erased? So it says more. Lu katan hayasham. There was a small a hole there in which they used to put in Geniza. Now, I just read this according to the Gilyon Ephraim and the Mashbiach. They both read the same way. In fact, the Mashbiach quotes the Gilyon Ephraim, which is really an interesting thing. For those of you who, I don't know if either of you read the Chosen or the Promise. The Chosen, you read either of them? Chosen. Okay, do you remember that this guy, Reuven Walter's father, I forget his name, he was he used to amend texts and stuff like that. That was his thing. No, you don't remember, right? Okay. Well, anyway, the Talmud text. He was into textual criticism of the Talmud, and Patak, the jerk, made him out into the hero, and the old Rosh Yeshiva into backwards, fanatics. But anyway, but here it's interesting because this is a case like that because the Ritbaz here had to learn the conventional way. The conventional way to read it is time lasting neses tachat sir shleichol lama b'shvil shachka. Why is it put there? In order to erase. And then there's a new sugya starts. When you learn lu katan hayasham, there was a small hole there in the ground, hamayim nishbachim, which the water was spilled. That's conventional in the korban Eder Pnei Moshe, or be that way. So the korban Ritbaz has a lum the shakasha based on this, because the Rambam paskins that a Megillah Sotah, the Megillah Sotah has to go into Geniza. And Mechte, here you see, and you're not allowed to erase it. Here you see, you can erase it, right? Which sounds like it's not Kodesh at all. So, as a matter of fact, the way the Ridbaz learns this Gemara, he's saying you dafka have to erase it. If you can't erase it for the purpose of the Sotah, you erase it by putting it under the hinge of the door so it gets erased, right? Therefore, the Ridbaz has a kasha. Because if that's the case, how can the Rambam paskin against this sugya that says that you dafka erase it, which sounds like it has no kedusha? The Rambam paskin Megillah Sotah is it does have kedusha. So he wants to say a classic yeshivish answer, lomdish answer, that you have that there's two sugyas which argue with each other. This sugya holds there's no kedusha, but we had back in the second parak that you can't write a Megillah Sotah on or behema tmeya. Remember that we had the camera. So he says that sugya argues on this sugya. That sugya holds that it does have kedusha, because otherwise you could write an or be'em atmeya. This one holds it doesn't have kedusha, and therefore you dafka you erase it. So the sugyas argue, and the Rambam paskins like that sugya which says it has kedusha. That's his miyash of the Rambam. That's true if you read it not like the Gilin Ephraim Mashbiach, because then you come again, you read it, time because that means you grind it up, because it has no kedusha. But the way the Gilin Ephraim Mashbiach read it, it takes away the okasha. Just by amending the reading of the text, not even amending the text itself, just by punctuating it differently. We learn, because once you learn, is in order to erase it? No, there was a small place to put it there, which actually would keep it and preserve it, and according to that, there are no sugyas, there is no sugya which holds you can erase it, not this sugya, not any sugya, and therefore the Rambam is legitimate, who says that you have to put it in a place where it's preserved. So it's a classic example of how different reading of a Gemara, and now you don't have to be, that changes everything, you don't have to be conservative or conservadox, or it could be the Gilin Ephraim or the Mashbiach and do the same thing, it comes out fine.
Why would they want to erase Hashem's name by grinding it up? I mean, it still has Hashem's name. It still has.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's a very schwer thing. The way they.
I wouldn't even have thought.
Yeah, but that's how the Korban Eda and the Pnei Moshe learn. So, Pnei Moshe says, I don't know. It's a very strange thing. He says it should be ground up in order that it shouldn't be mizbazah. I mean, but okay. So anyway, but you're right. I don't know. The Havmin is strange. And I thought maybe there's some bumps, it's written for the purpose of Mechika, so it's not Nimchak this way, it's got to be Nimchak another way, I don't know. But I've given the Ephraim Mashbiach, you don't have to answer anything. Anyway, so now, according to them, of course, Hamayim Nishpachim is the beginning of the next sugya. Not Lu Kotan HaYosham Hamayim Nishpachim, rather Hamayim Nishpachim is the beginning of the next sugya. The waters you throw out, if she refused to drink, the waters you throw out. Tani Ein Be'em Mishum Kedusha. They have no Kedusha. Malik Bo Be'em Satit. Can you use them then? Okay, it's a mixture of cement. Says Marbakach, Hamayim Nishpachim. Why not? The waters are spilled. So Tani Yesh Be'em Mishum Kedusha. Another part says it does have Kedusha, which we don't pass in like. Now that's again one way of reading it. There's no way of reading it, which is the way the Mashbiach reads it, which is going back a line. Mali Ba'im Satit. Marbakach can use them to mix cement. Says Gemara Marbakach, Hamayim Nishpachim Tani. Yesh Be'em Mishum Kedusha. So if you put the punctuation after Tani, Tani means that it's going back and saying, we just brought a brisa that the waters are spilled out. What do you think? It's got Kedusha? So instead of reading it, Tani Yesh Be'em Mishum Kedusha, it should be a brisa which argued by just putting the punctuation between the Tani and the Yesh, then you have two separate steps, then there is no argument here. It's just ending on a questioning note, confrontational note kind of. It says, again, according to Mashbiach, it says, Mali Ba'im Satit, Marbakach, Hamayim Nishpachim Tani, Yesh Be'em Mishum Kedusha. And so, therefore, sarcastic, right? Sarcastic, okay. So, interesting. Nimchuk HaMegillah. Once the Megillah is erased from a Tmeya, she says, Tmeya, Ani, that she actually admits she's Tamei, Hamayim Nishpachim, the water spilled, Min Chosim Mispazeres HaGabi Deshet. I'm distracted because I forgot to tell you something not that important. But there's a kind of a long Ridbaz, a longish Ridbaz, which talks about why the water doesn't have kedusha after the water comes from the shiur. The water comes from the shiur, it's have kedusha. So the Ridbaz, the name of the Korban says the reason why it doesn't have kedusha because nasa mitzvasam, because we needed to check her out. We checked her out. She said to Mayani. Well, so the Ridbaz doesn't like that because nasa mitzvasam means we did something with the water. Not that the water achieved some, deterrent of purpose by getting her to confess or something like that. So he has a long discussion of whether make shiur have kedusha and where the kedusha, and maybe once they're in the shiur they already don't have kedusha. Whole discussion, which is not really exciting. I just wanted to tell you that there is discussion about whether the water which comes from the shiur is kaddish or not. Okay, so getting back to the Gemara here. Again, if the Megillah is erased, Rama Tmein, she says, "I'm Tomei Amayim Mishpach." The waters are spilled. The Minchasim is Pazer Sakabe Deshen. The Mincha scattered on the Deshen, right? And it says it doesn't distinguish here when the Mincha scattered and when the Mincha. Under what circumstances the Mincha scattered and what other circumstances it's not. Adamra teaches us that Minchas Sotah Kadesha, the Mincha of the Sotah is holy actually because the Megillah, even before the Megillah is written. Because otherwise you draw a distinction and say, when is it scattered on the Deshen? When it's written after, when the Megillah was already written. When the Megillah was not already written, you can use it for your lunch. Since it doesn't say that, our mission just says generically, no matter what you scatter on Gabi Deshen, it must be the Mincha's Kaddish even previously. Amr Rabbi Yosef says the subsequent Mishnah, Amr Masnisa, Amr Cain says even more. It says, Shebala, Bala, Baderech. That even if her husband had relations with her on the way to the Beis HaMikdash, and as you know, then the waters don't work, nevertheless the Mincha is Kaddish. Because it doesn't draw a distinction, and it just says that even in such a case, you scatter the Mincha on the Deshen. So obviously the Mincha is Kaddish from the time it's put into the Egyptian basket on the road. Even the Ridbaz speaks about that also a little bit. Normally say Kli Shoris is Mekadosh, right? But here obviously since it's supposed to be brought in Kfifa Mitzvahs, so I guess once you put it in the Kfifa Mitzvahs, in the Egyptian basket, it raises Mekadosh. Okay? Says Mora, Nimchol Kamigil, the Megillah is erased for him, she said, any Shoris, I don't want to drink. Marina, so we force him, Mashmashka, so about Korcha, we force him to drink against the will. Lama, why should Garma Lashem Lishimachet? Because you caused the name to be erased. Now, here the one says something very funny. Not funny. It's not humorous. And I really should look at the Bavli, but today, under the doctor's orders, I took a nap. Kama Yimchok. How much do you have to...
Which doctor was it?
Kama Yimchok. How much how much is erased of the Megillah in order that you force it to drink? So it sounds like Shem Hashem doesn't even have to be erased. Once you start erasing the Megillah, it's as if you erase the Shem Hashem. I guess because the whole Megillah gets kedusha. We learn. I don't think it's here in the Yerushalmi in the Sotah, but we have elsewhere in Torah in the Gemara that the one wants to learn the minimum shiur of a parsha from Parsha Sotah. The minimum shiur of a parsha in the Torah that could have kedusha. Sefer Torah Shabbalah. I think we had in Masechta Megillah. I don't remember where we had it. A Sefer Torah Shabbalah, which got worn out, as long as the same number of letters as Parsha Sotah has, which is the minimum amount of letters which can be written as an independent text of Torah. So that's enough to give it kedusha. So here too, it sounds like even though the Shem Hashem is what we're so makbid on, but nonetheless, once you start erasing this parsha, then already you make a drink. Because that's what I was about to say. Once one letter is erased, no, only if two letters are erased.
We had this about a week ago about the shiur for erasing.
We did? Not about Shabbos? About Sotah we had it?
Analogy to Shabbos.
You had it? We had this?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I think it does sound
I
familiar.
make the analogy that it's like erasing one letter versus two letters.
So that's on Shabbos. You're probably right. Now I can remember we had something like this. Probably I slept through it. But you're right. It's we did have it somewhere. It sounds like we had it somewhere. So so he says once one letter is two letters, one letter is erased. Only two letters erased. And the Kormei says, as far as because, and I think you're right, I think we actually had this in the past, that it's because two letters are the shiur, which it is to write the Yud K. Oh, so right. So, oh no, it's not the Pnei Kormei, it's the Gemara. Says Gemara, Beisil, Mishtayim, or Ravilu, Tam, and Beisil, Kedei Lichtov Yud K. That's the amount of letters that take right Yud K. So we had it somewhere earlier, huh? Okay, it just goes to show that one should stay awake when one is teaching. It would be very helpful to do so.
I'll for that myself.
Right. Good things happen to those who stay awake. Okay. Says the Gemara, Amal Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, "Chimi de mashkin azu levoitka." I don't understand. Says Rabbi Akiva. Why do we give this woman to drink? We give her to drink in order to check her. Kvari beduka metukenes. She's already fixed up. Once she says any shoisa, it's as if even though she didn't say tmeani, I'm telling you, it's de facto she's conceding that she has no business in this marriage and she must exit, right? So therefore that's sufficient. Why would you make her go through with it? Maybe you're going to kill her. Says Ela Sav Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva said, Omer's any shoisa. Somebody says they're not drinking. Omer's tmeani. It's like somebody says tmeani loch. Ani tmei loch. And therefore she doesn't go on to drink. Not like our Mishnah. You argue on our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says only if she said tmani, only if she said I'm tamei does she not go on to drink. Not if she said any shoisa.
That's like a nolo contender.
Right, nolo contender, right. For later Rabbi Akiva, what about it? Doesn't Rabbi Akiva hold the following brisa? The following brisa says, "Marin also lishtos achponem morikos, umashkin also korcha." I'm not sure this brisa is phrased correctly. I would, if I would have my druthers, I would kind of tinker with the language here. But I'm going to just use a little bit of a steam shovel and try and explain the way it's written. It says that we force it to drink until her face turns green, and then we continue to force it to drink against her will. Now, the way I would rather change it is achaponem morikos. As her face turns green, Marina Solishtos, we compel her to drink, anyway, so it says there that we make her drink, and sounds like Rabbi Akiva might agree with that too. How can you agree with that? So it says more, yes, if she began drinking, she took a sip, and her face turned green, she says, no, I'm not drinking any more of this stuff. So then, even Rabbi Akiva agrees we make her continue to drink. When does Rabbi Akiva say we stop arguing our Mishnah and says if she says I'm not drinking, you can't make her go on and drink? Before she began. But once she started, even though her face turns green, she realizes, better stop now. But as long as she doesn't say tmeani, at that point even, she just says any shoisa, we make her finish the batch. Okay?
What happens if she throws up in the middle?
What? What happens if she throws up? That's a good question. What happens? I don't know. Good question.
Maybe she doesn't know the wording. If she said she knew what word to say, then she would stop. They would stop. In other words,
they probably ask her.
So do they tell her?
Yeah, they probably lead her on
to say, your tamea.
I would say that we give. Well, the odds are that we do give her that.
But it's not in the Gemara.
Yeah, it's not in the Gemara. But that's just my hunch. That's one of his jobs. And so she doesn't finish drinking. Achaponem morikos before her face starts turning green. Feinea boltos, her eyes start bulging. The mismalis gidim, and her sinews start sticking out. Her limbs. Feinami, they say, "Otziu, get her out of the Beit Hamikdash." So at the time it says she shouldn't defile the Azara by dying here. If she has a merit, it lets her linger. There's a merit which lets her linger for a year. Some let her linger for 2 years. That let her linger for 3 years. A person must teach his daughter Torah. Why? Because it's important to teach her daughter Torah. She teach that if she drinks and she becomes a sight to your daughter and drinks the waters, you should know the reason why she survived is because she had some schus. You have to teach her this Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer Meir Melamed is beat the Torah, a very famous Mishnah, or infamous depending on perspective. Eliezer Meir Melamed is beat the Torah, somebody who teaches his daughter Torah. Melamda Tiflus is teaching her romances, frivolous things. Rabbi Yeshua Meir Roy Teisha B'Kava Tiflus, a woman prefers, I don't know if this is true about modern American society, but a woman prefers to be poor, but to be have romance with her husband, than to be very rich, and be separate from her husband. I don't know.
This is appropriate for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's nice and romantic, but I don't know if it's true anymore. Uprishu, I used to say, Chassid Shoita, a foolish Chassid, Russia Arum. A sharp-witted Russia, Arum doesn't mean naked here, but it means somebody who's full of treachery, Orma. Isha Prusha, a woman who makes herself holy, Umakas Prushim, and the blow inflicted by the people who make themselves holy. These are the people, or Mechalil, these are the people who destroy the world. In all this case, will be explained by the Gemara. Velokein, says Gemara, and if not, it says that in our Mishnah, right? It says that before she finishes drinking, she starts turning green. So, and if not, well, if she, meaning, isn't it obvious that we continue to give it? It's hard to translate. I'm not even sure the Gersa is correct, but he says. It says it sounds like she doesn't finish drinking. Didn't we learn that she has to finish drinking? Didn't we learn that she has to that she has to drink all the is not part of them? So what do you mean? It says before she finishes drinking, she starts convulsing, but we have to give her all but to drink, right? So it says more it's a figure of speech in our Mishnah. It doesn't mean literally before she finishes drinking. It means right when she finishes drinking, as if it happens before it happened. Kiddush Domer is as if a person says, "Laws be pal the Mishnah." So and so did not finish drinking hadis chalcha before he began convulsing, but really the convulsions only really occur after she finishes drinking. Okay, because she has to finish the whole batch. That's the halacha. Okay, yesh chus to l'sharachas is a merit which keeps around for 1 year. Yesh chus to l'shteish merit for 2 years. Yesh chus to l'shalosh merit for 3 years. Yesh chus to l'sharachas. There's some merits which are 1 year merits. Well, where do we learn out from the Vuchanetzar? It says, "Ksas Yarchin Treasor." You got to come up until after 12 months, and those 12 months he was extended because Daniel taught him how to do tzedakah. There's a schus which keeps a person alive for 2 years. That we learn from Amnon. Amnon, after the episode with Tamar, Shalom took 2 years to took her 2 years until he took revenge from him. It says there, "Vahilish Nosayim Yamin." Sometimes it's 3 years. Me'achav. Me'achav says, "Vayeshvu shalosh shanim." They sat for 3 years. Ein milchama ben Aram ben Yisrael. There's no war between Aram and Yisrael until the final war, which Achav fell. Rabbi Eliezer said, "Not. You know what? No more. We could say it's no riot to our Mishnah, because our Mishnah sounds like even if she had a schus beforehand, that schus works to save her for the next 1, 2, or 3 years. But it could be in these cases enumerated that during those 1, 2, or 3 years, these people, the Vuchanetzar, Amnon, and Achav, were doing the schus during those whole 1, 2, 3 years. So in which case, not comparable to our Mishnah, which the schus was something prior, which stretches into the future, where the schus made was contemporaneous and protective as they were going along, right? Rabbi Yossi says, "No more close and mitzvahs." All those 12 months, for example, Vuchanetzar was involved in mitzvahs, and the Shari Torah Yisrael says, I don't know where he gets it from, but he knows much more about this than I do. But the word mitzvahs in Yerushalmi always means tzedakah. Generically means tzedakah. So maybe Vuchanetzar means tzedakah all those 12 months. Also by Amno, maybe Kolos and Shnei Shleim all those 2 years. So but there is a Torah. And by the Amrata, what tells us this? By the 3-year guy, by Achav.
Did you see the Korban?
Yeah, I know there was tzedakah, but he's the Yerushalmi there say mitzvahs means tzedakah. It's not just mitzvahs in general, but mitzvahs always means tzedakah. So even says by Achav they sat for 3 years. Hey, milchama ben Adam Yisrael, and Aram ben Yisrael. So what's Vayeshu? Because said the 3 years passed. What does it mean they were sitting? They were sitting and learning. That's what it meant. So Achim was sitting and learning. Yeah, it was Apikoros, but he believed he sat and learned. And I was like, what?
She was worse, Zevo.
Yeah, Zevo was teaching in the feminist class. That's right. Okay. Says our further. You said it, not me. Says our further. Minchas Zikaron. Getting back to our Mishnah. It said, now this actually, the Gemara here is a little bit out of order. The Gemara actually asks a question which really should follow the answer. I mean, the answer gives us information which we really need to know in order to understand the question. Minchas Zikaron cloud is really, let's say Minchas Zikaron is a cloud. Masker Savon is a prat. Now what we don't know is that, how do we know this Chus is Toila? Mori didn't tell us yet, but I'll tell you, because the Korban told me, or the Moshe. So now I understood the Gemara. He says, how do we know this Chus is Toila? Because it says, Minchas Zikaron. And Zikaron is good. Masker Savon is bad. So Minchas Zikaron means, at the same time that the mincha checks her out, it's maskeres oven, it's also mincha zikaron. And therefore, like we said before, it's zeicher all averos, it's also zeicher all mitzvahs. So therefore, that this mincha is what causes the zikaron for good to have her the capacity, give her the capacity to linger. So it says, well, how do you know that? Maybe they're both about bad. Mincha zikaron is a klal, is a general statement. Maskeres oven is a prat, a specific statement. Klal prat, and it's a klal general statement, the prat and specific statement. Aim a klal mashim prat. The klal is also like the prat, just like the prat is about averos. The klal is also about averos. I know there's alluding to her schlios. It says the more logic. You say that it's only about negative things. Lonim tesmidas sadim ukubachas. Does not undermine the capacity of midah connected midah, which is called midah sadin. My midas papuranus, if the midas puranus, the midah of retribution, which is generally less, or less expansive. Harehi maskeres, it reminds us of the puranus. Midas hatov meruba, is tov, which is good. Alachas kama. That it's going to, the mincha is going to remind us of it. In other words, basically we're saying that if the mincha is a remembrance, it's got a remembrance for good thing. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu never remembers just bad without the good. It's not the midah of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. On the contrary, the midah of Kodesh Baruch Hu is always to mitigate the bad with good to an even greater extent. So it's mincha zikaron, so therefore, mincha zikaron yesh lo eschus. Masker Savon, Elis, right? The minchas zikaron is about the positive, Masker Savon is the negative. Time Rabbi Tarfon Omer, or Tarfon argues, he says, calls the Quran Hashem or Batar L'Tova. 8 times it says, because the Quran in the Torah, Hashem remembers, in the Torah it's for good, Chutz Mizu, except for this and Shu Shal Puranos, where it is for bad. Or Rabbi Akiva argues, and says, like we said before, Ilu Ne'emar Masker Savon Shosik. If it would just have said Masker Savon and it would have been silent, it is bad. Minchas Zikaron, but besides it said Minchas Zikaron, and that is Eina L'Toiva, that is also for the good. Tani. Rabbi Omer b'Shem Elizabeth Matsu. This is the name of Elizabeth Mayasa. Rabbi Omer, it says, Miloni Mesa Isha Tahara. It says, the woman was not Tameh, she's Tahar. B'Chenu Yadim, she Loni Ma'isha, she Tahar. What are we, dumb? We don't know if the woman is not Tameh that she's Tahar. Duh. So it says, why does it say she's Tahar? Rather, it means that Kodesh Baruch Hu pays her back for her degradation. She was barren, she'll become fruitful. Yoles B'Tzav, she was giving birth with anguish. Yoles B'Revach, now she's going to give birth with, easy, thank you. Ku'urim, she gave birth to ugly kids. Yoles Naim, she'll have nice-looking kids. Shchayim, black kids. Yoles Levanim, she'll give birth to white kids. Kitzarim, short kids. Yoles Harukim, she'll give birth to long kids, tall kids, I guess. The Kavos, and if she gave birth to females, Yoles Charim, now she'll give birth to males. Okay? Echad, if she gave birth to one, Yoles Naim, she'll have twins. So Amalo, Rabbi Shimon, instead of Ben Lakish, should be according to Shai Torah Yisrael by Yochai, because it's discussion of Tanoim. Rabbi Shimon by Yochai. Im Kain Yechol Kol Nashim Yiskalku Shil Shei Pagas Vaktu. all women will go, and I will be convinced you in order to get pregnant. Right? Says my Isa Zera Kosher below Zera Apostle. He holds that beforehand, if she had juvenile delinquents, now she'll have upstanding members of the community. And that Rabbi Shimon holds it's not enough to make her drink. If you promise her that if she didn't have kids before, now she'll have kids, then of course she's going to go drink. But you just promise her before you had juvenile delinquents, now you'll have little angels, so she'll say, I can do that through my education without the Me'amorim assisting me in this. So therefore there won't be incentive for the drink. Okay, Penazai, the local Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Penazai says you should teach your daughter Torah. It's not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The Tanya, this is a Gemara Chagiga, but the Gemara Chagiga doesn't give it the spin which it has here. Tanya, Ma'aser Rabbi Gemara in the Bavli Chagiga. Ma'aser Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, Rabbi Akilazer Chasma, Shumrachim Yavna Lut. They were going from Yav to Lut. The Gvil Rabbi Shua b'Bekiyin, and they met Rabbi Yeshua in Bekiyin. And so he said to them, Rabbi Shua said, Machi l'shoyolchem be'beis ha'medrash. What was the chiddush in the beis ha'medrash? They said, Ha'kolti ma'al tamidecha. We're all your students, so me'mechon ha'shotzim l'chok waters. We want to hear your chiddush. He said, nevertheless, afilu kate, i'av shar, be'beis ha'medrash shelo yeh dvar chodesh b'chol yom. It's not shaykh that there's a beis ha'medrash without some new insight every day. Mishav Hashem, who was there this week? They said, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So what parsha do you speak about? Hakel spoke of mitzvah of Hakel. But what do you say about it? He said, I understand the men come to learn. The women come to hear. But why do the kids, the young kids, to give reward to those who bring them, that they brought them to Yerushalmi, to show the reward them for their Mesiras Nefesh, or going through the trouble of bringing them to Yerushalmi. So in any event, the reason why we're bringing this down here is in order to manifest that women should not learn, because it says Hanoshim Bos Lishmoya. The Yerushalmi Bavli didn't really emphasize that, but it said when it says women came Lishmoya, it's not to learn. Because Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah holds not like kol malami pito Torah kilulam the tiflus. It's only to listen. Okay? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shua said, Amalem, ein adori osam, a generation is not orphaned. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Rabbi Sochel, for Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, it's one of its members. Matruna Shah is Rabbi Elazar. A certain noblewoman asked Rabbi Elazar, a good question, this is also something about me, although I don't remember way. Bibnei ma, why, there was one sin by the Maisego, worshipping Avodah Zarah. And they died in three ways. Some people died by sword, some people died by disease, and some people died by plague. So,
didn't they grind up the ego and they had mixed with water and they drank?
Right, not by disease. I meant by, you're right, that they died by being checked, like Sotah waters, right? Moshe round up the ego. So it says Amar Allah, so he said, so quite a good question. So what do you answer to her? He says, women all have no wisdom except for weaving. All women, all who are wise, wove with their hands. Amar Allah, so it means to say she left in a huff, in an acrimonious mood. Amalo Hurkanus Penosa Hurkanus son to said to Eliezer, Dad, in order to not tell her one thing from the Torah, Bata Mimeni, he caused me to lose Shlosh Milus Kura Meiser B'chol Shah. This woman, she was supporting my yeshiva. She had 300 Kura Meiser every year. It was an astronomical sum, and now you made me lose it. So he said, Amar Lei, he saw one of the classic lines of Shas. He saw for divrei Torah, v'yimosru l'noshim. Let the words of Torah burn and not be given to women. Okay.
Reason number 727 why women's murder.
Isn't that dramatic?
And he was a moderate.
And he was a moderate, yeah. So the
he didn't even go with the bottom line.
They're having the international conference on feminism and orthodoxy in New York next week or something coming up. So someone should stand outside with banners. It's so funny by Muslim Anashim. Anyway,
hold up the sign. Tis Zion. Those football games.
So Nathan, this is like there's a famous sheet to the Marshal. Marshal says Rav Shechter brings this down in his tshuva against women's minyanim that it says the Gemara Bava Kama says the Goyim asked the Jews, is it true that your religion lets Jews off the hook if they're oxen gore non-Jewish, the oxen of non-Jews? And they answered yes. And they asked him another serious question like that, and all the answers they gave were politically incorrect, and he got in big trouble. So the question is, why didn't they just lie? So he says, Marshal says, you're mechuyev to die rather than falsify Torah precepts. So we don't actually paskin that way, it seems. We don't pass it when the Ori Valyavos, right? But this is a similar Gemara. In other words, he says, what can I do? It's true you lost the support of a yeshiva, but integrity demands that we don't tell women Torah. So there goes the whole theory, right? That was Rav Lazi, who was from Beis Shammai, he was different. Okay. Says the Amalei Shiyatza. So when she went out, Amalei Tamid so the Rebbe, Amalei Tamid so soon said Rebbe Luzuda Chisa. He pushed her off because he didn't want her to teach her. Lona Mata Meship. What are you going to respond to us? Why talk were there 3 types of death? So we have several answers here. Anybody who had witnesses and warning, he would be killed by cord, meaning by sword. If he had witnesses but he had not gotten warning, Nivda Sotah would drink the waters with the Eglah Zohav dust, and that would check him like a Sotah. Samech believe, skip. Lo Edim Lo Aseret, there are no witnesses, no warning. Gave the God took care of him with the plague. Rav Aleba Sisi Tavaya, when they said a different take, they said, if you did the worst kind of avodah, Zibeach, sacrifice, Kiter, put on top of an altar, Nisech, and libated, Hayames and Basin Basukul. Tipeach, you would just clap, Rikate, you dance, Sichek, you laugh, Hayanifta Kasoite, you would check like a Sotah. Samach Belibo, it was just happy in his heart, Hayames Magay for the time to play. Period. Okay. Next issue in our Mishnah. Ezu Chassid Shaita, who's a stupid Chassid? Ra Tinach Mevai Benar, you see a child drowning in the river. Armin said, when I take out my tefillin, not silenu. So it's not proper going to water with tefillin. That's a chassid shaita. Aim shu chaylet says, shu chaylet tefillin, as he take off his tefillin, this guy, this guy loses life. Similarly, what's a chassid shaita? Raw tein b'chor, he sees a first fruit of a fig, when there's no mitzvah bikurim anymore. But he says, Omar b'misha efka bo tchilat nenolo, I'm going to give it to the first person I see. And that's like my form of hekdesh. Like, I'm going to consecrate it to whoever comes first. So that's stupid. It's not smart, it's stupid. If you're going to do something constructive with it, that's one thing. But just pretend you're doing bikurim and give it randomly to the first person you see. And anyway, that's tam, chassid shaita. It has to be with a plan, with a program, with some good reason. And certainly it says speak about bikurim, it's brought down because bikurim are not knowing bizman hazeh anymore. Ra nara marasa, or another case, you see a betrothed girl, for a rat, and it should be ishachra, and somebody's running after her, and you don't save her. So you see something, you could say, I don't want to kill somebody. Allah is you're allowed to kill somebody in order to save the girl from rape. Okay? Rush Arum, what's a Rush Arum? Zeshumo, a treacherous Rush, Shumore Kulos Alatzmo, he's making for himself, for Chumas Lachem, and does Chumas for other people. I skip?
No, I'm sorry.
No, I did, yeah. Okay. It's like this. Everybody wants to be machmir himself, and do the chumas of both. Al then it says, you're a fool, walking in darkness. The Karasha, the Yerusha. Either go like the chumas of Beishamai, How can the Beisil Kikulem Chumras and oil clothes and Chumras of Beisil? Now that's before the Basco came out. It's the Basco. For the voice came out from the heavens. That's the Basco. Once the voice came out from the heavens, anybody transgress the words of Beisil is Chai Misa. What Basco came out? It's a Basco. The Basco came out and said, they're both the words of the living God, or the living words of God. Allah is always like Beisil. The Basco had this Basco come out, and we said the question is, why is it authoritative? And Rabbi Yochanan said, "Be Yavna Yotzas Basco." You have to come out in the Basco came out Yavna. That's how you knew it was authoritative. Says the Gemara, Isha Prusha. What's a woman literally separates herself from the world? So it's interesting. The interpretation means a woman who makes a mockery of Divrei Torah, and it gives an example. The Talmud says, "Elai Tavo." It says that Leah came out to Yaakov, and she said, "You're going to come to me tonight." And it says, "Vayishkavama b'layla," we lay with her that night. So there, a woman who's a Prusha might say, "It's not nice. Leah was explicit, and we know now to be explicit about wanting to have a relationship with your husband. I'm better than Leah." That's called Isha Prusha. A woman who says, "I'm better than she is," because I don't go around asking my husband explicitly to have relations. Says the Gemara, what taka went on there? But Amrayevo Kiv Yochel Machshava. Now, different interpretations here, but I think the right interpretation is, of course, my interpretation. My interpretation is that it means that Yaakov, it's as if Yaakov was in her thought process. Because the reason why now to be Tovei Repeh is because it's priestistic. But we know the obviously most, the whole Kavanah was the Shem Shemayim to have the Shiftei Koh. So he could perceive in her thought that she was thinking the Shem Shemayim, and that's why he agreed to be with her that night. The Korbanei is a more amazing pshat, which I don't think is really pshat. The Korbanei says that Hayama Machshava means she didn't actually say Elai Tovo. She thought it. The pasuk is attributing to her as if she said it, but she didn't actually say it. She just thought it. It's interesting understanding of how the Torah writes things. Anyway, the way I interpret it, continue on. Who Levado he on Yaakov alone knew Shalom Daita V'Shulam Shvatim. Her intent was only to have Shvatim. Period. Umakos Prushim. What's a Maka Prushim? Zeshu knows an Eitzel the Yisraelim Lavriach Mazonas Min Amana. So he gives an Eitzel to Yisraelim, to the orphans, not to have to pay the widow Mazonas anymore. Kato Armo told the Rabbi Shuvsi. It was the widow Rabbi Shuvsi. The widow Shuvsi. So she was wasting the property and acquiring her mazonos. Asun Yasmaya, the Kirvun Rabbi Lozer. So the Yisraelim came to Rabbi Lozer. He said, "Man aviluchin, what can I do for you? Vatun shatin, you're idiots. You should pay more attention to what she takes and what land she sells in order to raise money." Now, in the meantime, Nafak Kisova, it says Ksuva, but it's a mistake according to the Shaitos Yisrael, the Mashbiach, and the Oruchi in the bottom. Should be Navak Kisova. Rabbi Lezer's scribe went out, and he was the Rosh. He was the Rosh Arum. Armaloni said to them, Nemelchom ma meimar, Nemelchom meimar. Let me tell you, if the Chon what to do and what Rabbi Lezer would have you do. If the Chon Garmeichom Mizabi, pretend you're about to sell the property. So here's to say she's going to get frightened and she's going to try and collect her ksuva ahead of time. And once she collects her ksuva, she loses all her rights. You could just dump her out of the house and not sustain her anymore. In an Amecha Matzbin, Vitava Porter, she's going to demand a ksuva. Umov the Mizon, she's going to lose her right to food. Avnike, they did that. Berubsha that evening, Asa, she came, Makarbetz Rabbi Lezer, and she went and complained to Rabbi Lezer. So he said, what can I do? Zumakos Prushim Nokaba. This is the blow delivered by a person who's a false frumak. Yavor line he took an oath that was never his intent. It's just that this jerk of a cipher which he had, who remains anonymous, is the one who came up with this idea and gave it to this the people who were these Simon who were complaining.